Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CLSR. And I'm your host, the counselor. Today, we're going to be talking about the newcomers who could be feeling alone here in Canada because they go through a whole process, the newcomers to Canada. And I think with the pandemic and all the stresses out there and the instability and uncertainty, there are people that overlook our everyday people, right, from all over the world that come to this country. And this could be very isolating for them. Just trying to get to understand that when people come here, it's just a whole different world to them. And could you imagine them coming here? And in addition, they're even dealing with the pandemic, right? Where people are just running around. It's worldwide, but here, that could be really scary for a lot of people. Just the uncertainty. Because, a lot of the recent immigrants come to Canada because, they're looking to have a new life. They might even be escaping from a war or some sort of persecution from the land of which they came, their homeland. So if they've come here alone with no family or friends to help them, they're going to have to adjust to our society. It's going to be really strange to them. They're going to have their good days and they're going to have their bad days. And there will be definitely some uncertainties. These people are going to wonder why they came here at all. And these are actually feelings that are quite normal. However, through some time, right, um, they're going to have more bad days and good days. And they're going to feel more comfortable and settled eventually. So I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to have to do some talking on just getting some understanding of their experiences and maybe what could we talk about or some of the recommendations that we should be considering when dealing or working with newcomers or trying to empathize with their experiences. I think if we understand that, and you might be a newcomer yourself, and we're just going to make some suggestions to make your stay here, you know, better. Just simply put, better. I mean, just for the first couple of weeks, you're going to be excited if you're a newcomer here. Everything is going to seem new. However, there will be some challenges, right? It won't be easier necessarily to get a job just because you're coming here, right? It could be very challenging as it is for a lot of newcomers. Not all, but you might get frustrated and you can't. You don't get frustrated. You keep working at it, and it will give, but it'll take a lot of patience. And there could be some culture shock in there, right? And this is some stress, right? You're living actually in a different country, experiencing a whole new culture, right? And this is normal. This is what usually happens when you're trying to adjust. You got to get used to a number of things. It could be new food, the language, some of the customs, the activities, the people, the culture shock. It can affect the way you think about your world at that time, right? The way you feel emotionally and physically. You might feel irritable, might go through some emotions where you're sad or you're angry, you know, and of course the issue of trust will come up, right? You might not feel like you can trust anyone or that you're uncomfortable being, you know what I mean, in this new environment, and you might yearn to go back home. And this may cause you to get physically ill, right? Pains in the stomach, some nausea, some headaches, you tire easily. These are some of the signs and symptoms, right? The culture shock is very real. And there's not much you can do to really avoid it. You just got to cope with it. Just recognize that you're going through this process and it's natural. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just a normal reaction of the strangeness of everything that will be going on around you. You gotta adjust. Like we're talking about the adjustment in Canada, but this could be applied worldwide, right? This culture shock. Whatever country, when you're coming from your homeland into a new country, definitely, right? You're gonna go through these cycles, several stages. And it may happen more than just once. You'll feel as time goes on a little bit more at home. And just as long as you understand when it comes to culture shock, there are things that you need to be aware of, like the excitement, like when you first arrive. because you are excited about being here. You know that there's going to be some opportunities and adventures that lie ahead. It may look wonderful because there's beautiful cities, right? It looks perfect out there, right? And you're going to be busy trying to find a place if it hasn't been arranged already, which most cases it's not. You have to find a place to live and you learn how to make some friends, right? And this could take from weeks to months. And, you know, this little excitement will fade as time goes on. That's just the way it is. And then we talk about the anger and the sadness after you've been here for a while. You all understand that things aren't as easy as they might have led you to believe. But that feeling, well, the excitement will fade through time. And then, like I said, you go through the anger and the sadness after you've been here. You might even be waiting for a work permit. That's going to take some patience. Or it's a you might have a refugee hearing going on, right? You have to get into some of those English language classes, possibly. Just keep in mind some of the skills and education that you may have learned in your home country may not necessarily have the same value here. You might find yourself looking for work, and some of those skills that you've obtained previously might not fit well here, right? So, could even be them looking at your lack of Canadian experience, employment centers, and work opportunities, right? So you have to take it in stride and realize these are some of the challenges that you may experience. Um, and it is natural to feel frustrated and angry, right? Because you do start to think, did I make the right decision coming here? Right? It might stress you or tire you out if you're trying to speak English if it's not your first language, your mother tongue. If you're not a native speaker, you might feel that it's tiring just to put up the effort. And just, you could be struggling just to cope with everything. And this may give you less energy and less tolerance than you normally might have. And maybe it could disrupt your eating patterns or your sleeping patterns. It's just harder for you to be active, spend time with people. So it's very important to remember that this is normal, right? Feeling you're eventually going to feel more settled. Eventually, the anger and the sadness, this will go away or fade away. You'll begin to feel more settled as you learn more about the Canadian culture, as you get used to the food, the weather, the language. You'll start to make more sense of your world once you assimilate a little bit, right? You won't be as hurt or confused as time goes on. You'll start to make sense of things. It's almost like you're going to be living two cultures. And it's going to take time to be comfortable in this new culture. And it may take years. It depends how you assimilate, if at all. Right? If you are making Canada your home, right? Even if you are happy here, life is challenging. And there will be some conflict that you will experience between your values and your culture that's existing here in this, which is a little different than your own culture. And you'll wonder if you belong. And that's quite normal as well. However, there are people who do adapt more easily, but others take longer time, especially trying to adjust to this new place. So culture shock, it may fade quickly or it may return again and again, but it does not last forever. There are a few questions that you could reflect upon when you're thinking about your feelings in relation to culture shock. Just ask yourself how excited, sad, angry are you? Like when you think about what people, things, or experiences have made you feel like, have they made you feel like an outsider in your new home? Or what these people, things, or experiences have made you feel uncomfortable with or comfortable in your home? You figure it out. Or is there anything you could do to make yourself feel better? That's how you look at culture shock. Those questions, review those questions and answer those questions honestly. And making friends is important. It's hard. sometimes for people to stay because of the family and friend connection that they have from their home country. They want to start a new life. They want new friends, but it's not easy for some of them, right? To create that new life. Some just adjust very well, but it's others who don't, right? When you leave the people that you've been raised with, ones that have been a part of your community for years, and now you have to start over and build a new life. It's natural to feel angry and confused or sad. Just don't give up. See, this is the key. Not to give up. To understand that you may feel these things and go through different experiences and emotions, but you do not give up because you will make new friends. It's one of the most diverse places in the world. And I really believe that there are people out there who appreciate and understand that. And they're not looking at a lot of negativity. They're just being themselves. And that's a great thing if you can be yourself and accept each other, and work together. So you don't give up on that. How much effort you put in is what you'll get. Whatever you put in, you'll get out. But you got to be patient because it's not going to be easy at first. It may not be easy for a while. But you got to believe that you're here to make a better life. And if you want to make some friends, it's join the gym. Go to the English language school if you need to. Go to a gym. Get involved in some activities. Get into the community. Do some volunteer work. Work on improving your language, or this, if it's new, this English language to you, then those are ways as well you can enhance your learning experience. um, Many of us, you have to remember, have made friends when we were younger. So when we are older, it's not as easy. Older people have their routines established, very busy with their work, their family, so a lot of times they have less time and energy to go out there and make these new friends, right? So if you are a newcomer, I just suggest, English or French language classes. If you have to go to a church, a mosque, go to a temple or religious spiritual places, do some volunteering in organizations, get involved, work sports clubs, play, get in fitness classes, go to your local library. There's libraries everywhere, right? Community centers, immigrant settlement agencies. Well, get it to a self-help group for people who speak English together. They learn together, right? Get involved in those people's self-help groups to discuss common problems, ways to cope, resources. I think when you get into the groups, it's better for individuals because they can share resources. You'd be surprised in a room full of people what people know until you ask. And that's what we're still learning to do here in North America, is to share our resources, to speak to each other, not just speak to one person at the front of the room. We need to network. And that funny word, it's network, doesn't even sound like it's a social thing. It really seems more business like. But talking to our neighbors right in front of us, finding about, opening ourselves up, finding about the programs out there that could really help. And if you do have to learn the English language, as I said, go to the classes, get involved. You want to communicate in the language. Many, many people learn that language in their home country, anyways. But if you don't, right, I really recommend that you learn to help yourself by helping others, right? Because when you stay home and you have nothing to do, you don't have a plan, you get what? Discouraged, depressed. You feel like you're all caged up. You're just eating. You're not doing anything. You're not even involving yourself in anything. You're just isolating yourself, right? So make sure you develop a plan. Put in some activities in the week. Get yourself in the community. Help out. There's always a need. Food bank, hospital, nursing homes, all of them. Get involved if you can. If you don't have any work, get actively involved in the community. Volunteer positions, great. Volunteer work. People always need extra work. Right now, it's a great time to get some work, especially even if you're PSW or, they're giving money because of this COVID, right? I also recommend exercise. You know what I mean? Think, keep yourself active. And if you are going to do some volunteering, ask yourselves why. Why do I want to do this? Make a list of three things, organizations that you can go into, help children, cooking, transportation, whatever, wherever you can help out and volunteer, church, a hospital, theater, you know, list the types of people you'd like to work with, right? Some people are good at it. They even volunteer in prisons, but they're still actively involved in the community. That stops you from getting down and depressed and isolating yourself, right? Um, Cooking is a great way as well to get into community groups. Food. You know what I mean? It reduces a lot of stress, especially when you know how to cook. Learning how to cook is wonderful, and a lot of cultures have this culinary skill that they bring with them, and they open up their own businesses and they thrive with it. It's wonderful because Canada is a multicultural society, so they will appreciate all the different dishes we're so blessed to have in our midst. So just think about that. You could develop cookbooks, just, learning about different recipes, bringing your own home style recipes into this community and developing recipes that, you could put up there yourself. It's just wonderful things, getting yourself involved. Writing, you know, writing's a wonderful activity. Reflecting, doing a journal. If you're coming here and your experiences are tough, getting into journal writing, writing letters back to your family, keeping in touch with them through letters. It's great. You can still do it. You can mail it to them. Family may be worried about you. You might be worried about them, but if you get involved in the writing process, it seems not as daunting, and you distress a little bit, right? And then the anticipation of receiving letters. It's going to make you feel better. I know a lot of us are into these emails, but the letter writing, it's a great activity to get involved in. Start up writing. You'd be surprised when you start writing all the experiences that you go through when you document and reflect and review. You just look back in time and or you think about the future, and then you really get a positive perspective because things do get better. They really do. So purchase a journal book, you know, grab a notebook, do some writing daily. Every day some people write. And I have heard so many things about people who have kept their sanity because they were writing. Such a wonderful experience. So if you're going to start a journal, you may choose some story sentence starters like I'm happiest when I'm doing this activity, or I came to Canada because, or when I think of home, this is what I miss the most, or I'm afraid of this, and by this time next year I want to goal set. So these are sentence starters that you could. Last year I did this, or I like Canada because this, or I'm proud of this, um, or some of my old friends like me because of this, or new friends are gonna like me because of this, or the ones that I have already like me because of this. So these are just little topics you can get started with your journal, and they're going to help you do some reflection. And it's good. However, what might not be so good for you is some of the celebrations that we have even in this country. It might be somewhat different than yours. So even for the first year or so, it might feel a little lonely, right? Especially if, New Year's comes and you're not with the friends that you're used to be with, like family and friends, because you're in a new country, right? Some of the experiences that you've had and enjoyed, you're not experiencing it, so it just might put a damper on your situation, right? But if you don't celebrate holidays, you might find it hard to be happy when people around you are, right? They're already in their place of comfort. You're still trying to adjust. And there will be cultures that celebrate certain holidays or religious events such as Ramadan or Diwali, right? Or Chinese New Year or Black History, or those are celebrations and people acknowledge them here. But if you're not a part of that, you may be a part of it by getting yourself involved in the hospitals, right? Or seniors' homes or the homeless shelters, because they're always celebrating things and you'll be around people. A number of those people don't know each other, right? So, especially being in the homeless shelter, the staff will know each other, but a lot of the clients going in and out, they're going to be unfamiliar faces. You can get to learn a lot about people and working in those environments, and also getting some perspective on appreciation, right? Just realizing as well that there are some unwritten rules in Canada, Canadian manners per se. Every culture has their rules, or specifically relating to manners, right? Many of it is unwritten because it's been something that's been learned at an early age or taken for granted by most people. But coming to Canada does mean learning a little bit about these Canadian rules or manners, right? You'll have to know about some of the rules because you might receive some negative reactions if you don't, right? Like, what are some of the rules around meal times, right? It could be strange to someone who's not from Canada, or vice versa. You may find that certain things that Canadians say or do could be quite rude. However, most of these unwritten rules you will learn through time just by being here. There are only a limited amount of books that even talk about the unwritten rules. So I would just go through your experiences and learn these rules. Because, you know, once you understand these rules, it will eliminate some stress and confusion. Um, and one of the unwritten rules is you can never be late. You must be on time, or you must always look at your manager when they're talking to you. If you avoid them, they might think something's wrong. You must call an adult like Mister or Mrs. If you talk to a female as a woman, if you call her a girl, she may think you're insulting her. Yeah, some of these unwritten rules, they become quite common. However, if you think you've offended someone, I mean, just talk to them. Find out what their expectations are so that there's no conflict or animosity, right? This is going to reduce some of the tension. You're just learning life as you go along. So don't try to take yourself too serious. Sometimes you got to laugh at yourself. Like if you feel that you've been violating the unwritten rule too much, then I'd suggest that you just do a simple exercise by writing down 3 situations where you may have felt that you've broken an unwritten Canadian rule. So for each one of them, write what happened, how you felt, and how you dealt with it. And I would recommend that you discuss this with a friend or family member, especially in one of your classes if you have an English class and you're actually in touch with a teacher or someone who can, you know, clarify. That'd be great too. Just try to identify any unwritten rules. It's not. You just might be building yourself a new identity when you come to Canada. I mean, some of the things you might not have thought you'd be participating in, you're actually doing. Like if you, from your home country, if you were like living a more affluent life with servants and had somebody looking after your children, riding high-end vehicles, and if you come here and you find that you're not living that lavish life, you might even have to have your family living in an apartment for a while in a densely populated area. This could be, and it is, real experiences for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't believe people who come from other countries and say, hey, I used to be a teacher in my former country. And people just hear, a lot of them just, they go, whatever, you're here now. So they're not giving it much thought, but you should, and that's okay, because you just got to understand that you're going to have to start your new life, right? You're actually going for a fresh start, and this could be positive and negative. There are parts to your identity that are very positive, and it will grow, right? No matter where you live in the world, and there will be some negativity, right? You might feel that because you're not working at your level, until you do, things might not be balanced for you. You might not feel right about things, and you might have to look at that, right? Trying to find a balance in between. I would have to say that successful newcomers find a place between their old and their new identities. And this does take some time. It's just important to hold on to the qualities that you value in your old identity and open yourself up to some challenges. And this will help you form a new identity, right? This whole new identity will continue for the rest of your life, you know? Also, it could be on the flip side of that, where you come from a country where there is no work or it didn't seem like there was any hope and you were struggling. However, you feel better about it and you're more confident because you feel you're safe and you can provide for your family and everybody's happy with what they got, right? Ready to be together in this new place and they like it, right? And it's just the way it is for some. So it could be on each end of the spectrum, right? And sometimes people just go back to their home countries for a visit. They love it here, and right, or they go back to their home country and stay. But there's a number that love to stay, and it's an individual thing. But these are the experiences you might go through for sure, right? And things that could help you kind of identify or get a balance between the old and the new you, right? Is you might say at least 5 things about yourself that you want to change, no matter where you live, where you happen to be, right? Or 3 things about yourself that have changed since you came here. And are there any connections between your old and new identities, right? That is just a self evaluative tool that I'm giving you. And it's good. It's good to do that reflection. Ask yourself these questions. Just give yourself these little exercises every once in a while when you're going through. It's almost like checks and balances for yourself. And when you think about relationships, there's different priorities for different people. There are those people who come here and they might not speak the language so well, so their priority might be to learn the language. That's where they're going to go. They're going to go get educated and immediately start working on it. And there's others that their priorities are a little bit different. They want to have a relationship or be in a relationship. Or some will be just to get a job. They're not even about anything but getting a job. And then there's others who are, you know, they're used to being in intimate relationships in their lives. So they might have to put this on hold, and others might not. Others might need to satisfy this urge that they have, or they're going to find themselves in isolation, alone, and it's not good for them. And it could start to put too much stress on them. It just depends what the priority is. So if you do come to the country here, you got to get used to dating. And there are people who come from countries that's not the practice. So that's even going to seem um, somewhat awkward or scary, right? There's more equality between women and men than in some other cultures, they would say. It's not unusual, actually, for a woman to talk to a man about dating, right? Especially if she's paying the bill and she's got her own responsibilities. There are differences in culture and gender that could add stressors. Depends if you're still, you know, in a strong culture that's very male dominated. It might be somewhat of a challenge if you're coming to an environment where it seems more liberal, right? You don't give up. You got to work through it, but there will be some challenges, right? And people would not, in certain cultures, even consider the intimate relationship, or that's not even priority for them, right? There's procedures and there's a process in many cultures. It might not be as close to the North American practice that we have going on here. And sometimes that's why some people don't assimilate because they don't accept that. But that's the individual, right? Newcomers, um, some will, their social scene may be totally different from where they come. You will notice that there is more openness about sexuality in this country than probably would be in their homeland. And there may be even more acceptance of same sex relationships because there are some newcomers that have difficulty as it goes against their culture or their religious values. And they find this openness could be quite threatening, and this openness might not feel welcoming to them. And these sexual standards they might not believe in. Because let's face it, there are cultures out there that find talking about sex is quite embarrassing. Some prefer not to talk about it at all. But as relationships develop, and before you become sexually intimate, it's important to discuss like safe sex and contraceptives, because you got to protect yourself and your partner. You don't want any unplanned pregnancies or any transmitted diseases. So some people might not consider this at all, but many have to consider that. So the conversation around expectations and relations is big. And what you do will determine your, level of happiness and how you go about doing it between friends and lovers. You got to ask yourself, how do you feel about the idea of dating in Canada compared to your home country? Or how did you meet your friends back home? How did you go about? Maybe some of you were raised with them, so it became natural. Might be different here. You might also ask yourself, how do you plan to find a mate, a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, just a partner in general? How are you going to go about doing that? Because there are ways that they do it here. But some even use that online a lot, right? That online dating, which it might be different in different cultures. However, it could be a very big practice. People here are so busy that, sometimes they take out the time and others they don't. You might not even be used to going to sporting events. Depends. However, it's quite common. It's a practice here. So there will be differences. And I think for the most part, if you try to keep a balance, you'll be all right. Just make sure that as well, what's on your agenda is keeping yourself healthy and not really buying into some of these North American practices that involve alcohol and drugs and, you know, partaking on that level. It doesn't have to be something that you adopt. You have to have your open mind and remember, because they're pushing it through social media and it seems like everybody's getting together drinking, it doesn't mean that, you have to engage in it, because it's something that's quite common. It's been around for many years and it's going nowhere quick, but it does seem to take central stage in this country and especially the States as well. They're called advanced, but it seems like there's a bar on every corner or a liquor store, right? So this is something to be mindful of. But taking care of your health is important. Exercise regularly, go for walks, and be appreciative of the weather as well, because we've got lots of cold weather. So you got to understand, if you're coming from a place where it's hot, you're gonna have some definite experiences with regards to the cold. You're going to experience cold. If you don't like cold, you're going to have to get used to it. And a lot of people get used to it. They know what it's like. And then I think sometimes enjoying these winters even makes you enjoy the summers much more, because you just can't wait. You're in anticipation of it. I think that's a great thing. But taking your daily walks is good. Getting your comfortable shoes, right? You can walk alone, or you can find it more enjoyable to share your walk with a friend, right? And if the weather's not good outside, walk in the malls, right? Get some swimming. Most areas in the GTA have the community centers for you, recreation centers. You know? But you do have to understand that you're going to have to learn to cope with some stressors. It's physical, emotional, and it's a mental strain that you feel as life requires a lot of energy. And everyone experiences stress as part of the daily living. It's just the amount of stress. And adapting to a new country can be quite stressful, especially when you're not sure where to go to get resources or how to get help, or if you're not covered through benefits. It can be quite stressful and difficult. And completing tasks can be a challenge without support. So it's important to get it. We cannot avoid stress. However, we can learn to manage it and enjoy our life and reduce the chances of getting ill. even physically and mentally heal. Just continuing activities that make you feel calm and well relaxed. Things that are stress reducers are important. Meditation, yoga, Pilates, working out, it's great for dealing with stress. Because life in general has a lot of stress. Some environments are more stressful than others. However, if you are going to understand that there are certain things that you can do to eliminate your stress, you have to be flexible. Know what you can change and what you cannot. Focus on things that you can control and laugh as much as you can. It does release some tension. If you can't tell some jokes, watch some funny shows, go see a funny movie, read some comics, relax, breathe slowly, take those deep breaths in, just for a few minutes of each day. Slow down, relax your mind and body, allow yourself to make mistakes. Be kind to yourself, be gentle, right? No one's perfect. You're going to make mistakes. Everyone does. Even people who've been here their whole lives. We're going to face some problems. But what you do is when you have to face your problems, make sure that you take it one at a time. If you divide it up, break it down, and prioritize. Don't try to deal with it all at once. We have a society that pushes us into trying to deal with everything at once. Because, right, a lot of times we can't say no. We're afraid of the consequences, or we feel we have to overcompensate, which you really don't. So what you should be doing is taking it one day at a time and realize that you can't do everything. And talk to someone. Make sure you have someone to talk to. Share a problem with. Someone you not necessarily care about. Somebody you work with. Just. It can make problems more manageable. Your friend, a coworker, an advisor, right? They all go through their stressors as well. You could offer advice and you could be a good listener, right? Learn to say no to doing too much. It is hard, but it's also you get respect when you face it head on rather than going around and beating around the bush. Be realistic about things that you can and cannot do. Don't overcommit. And once in a while, get out there and get some fresh air. Exercise is good for you. It really is. You don't have to be a big runner. Sometimes just going for the walks. Relaxing the mind. Learn to have some fun along the way. Right? Don't be sitting there. Just get out once in a while. Read a book. Something you can enjoy. A magazine. Get your mind off the problems a little bit. I'm very big on the meditation and the yoga. It can help you to relax. So for those newcomers, I think it's important for them to understand it's a process. And you will go through it with a better experience if you understand that you're looking for some balance. If you understand that you can't do everything at once, and you're going to learn and you're going to take some proactive steps to be involved, whether it's working or volunteering or in those environments, and you will miss home. However, with the right support and the attitude, this will be your new home. So good luck. Hey, spread the word like the wise old bird. The counselor says take care of yourself.